Well, welcome to the bunker. Make a quick video here tonight. Just got home from work a little bit ago. Had a cup of coffee and touch on a couple topics. I think I got about 4 of them that I want to talk about. So I'll try and make one video tonight and maybe one a night for a few nights here and post them. But so a couple questions were asked to me by a family member, and trying to get my thoughts and together and speak on these things. But I'll tell you what's on my mind right now is it has to do with preparing. And I think ever since, oh boy, let's say real early 90s, what was going on then? So we had, what did we have? The LA riots. I think it was Rodney King. That kind of piqued my ears up a little bit, my eyes and my thoughts about what's going on and how unstable big cities are in times of civil unrest. Got me thinking. I think I saw a lot of stuff on what was it, Waco and Ruby Ridge, and just the way the government has treated people. Not real happy about some of that stuff. So I started to prepare to be able to defend myself to those who want to do me harm, and be able to survive a civil unrest situation, such as a riots or things like that. Then just working for the utility, right, the electric utility, and seeing storms that roll through, and realizing that how vulnerable we really are to power outages and supply and demand, things like that. So I figured I'd make a video and talk about one of the topics that I want to talk about, and that is talk about heat. We're in the middle of winter right now. It was 15 degrees below zero over the weekend. Today's Thursday. And windy, snowy, cars and trucks stranded on the highway. People struggling to get provisions, get their vehicles out, things like that. So first thing I'll talk about is how to stay warm in a situation like that, and then how to provide some electric, right? So not just in the wintertime if you lose your electric, but spring and summer presents their own problems too. Storms and tornadoes and things like that. And having electric is it's essential, and especially if I want to keep my or your basement from flooding and keep your food from spoiling, refrigerators or freezers. I got 2 deep freezers and a refrigerator, and packed with food, a lot of money in there. And so one of the things that I'll talk about today is power supply. I've had a few generators in my time. Right now I think I have a 7,500 watt generator. It's a pull start, and it's got a Subaru engine in it. Starts every time. Pretty easy to start, but that provides electricity if I need it to keep the freezers going, keep the sump pump running, and keep some lights and a coffee maker going, maybe even a television set or something like that. So plenty of power to do the things that I need to do around here in the event of an emergency or a storm or something like that. In the wintertime, I'm looking for electric to power my furnace, right? And that's essential right there. So I'm thinking if you want to get into this, first thing I would get into is buy a decent sized generator, no less than 5,000 watts. I'm thinking, and I haven't priced them in a while, but I'm thinking you're probably going to be $800 to $1,200 for a generator. Now you don't have to go top of the line. You could spend $3,500 on a generator. It's going to do the same thing, maybe quieter, maybe better on gas or something like that, or easy to move around, or electric start. But you can do it definitely cheaper than that and have the same functions, right? You'll still get power. So that's the first thing I would do, is get a generator, um, and get some gasoline and store some gasoline. Try not to store the gasoline in my garage. I try and keep it in the shed in the back. I don't like, my garage is attached to the house, and I get a little nervous about having that much flammable liquids and materials in the garage connected to my house. So try and keep everything in the shed out back, when I can. But first thing on the list, I would get a generator, and that should help you out. Keep it running every year. Change the oil, change the gas, just maintain it, and it should last you, right? I run mine once or twice a year just to make sure it's all good to go. But first thing, I would definitely get a generator. That definitely takes my uneasiness down a big notch, knowing that I got that. And then working for the electric utility, I tell people all the time, to get one. Just it'll save your food and maybe your basement from flooding. That could cost you a lot of money, right there. If you had a generator, to prevent that. Anyway, so that would be my first thing. Go back to keeping warm in the wintertime. Couple things: keeping warm at home, and then keeping warm and surviving in your travels in your vehicle. Like I said, I drive 65 miles every day to work, and it's basically just two main highways, and they're pretty much just open farm fields 75% of the time, and it gets pretty sketchy out there. Plenty of trucks dying out, skidding out, getting in the ditch, cars all over the place. So what I try and do in my vehicle that I drive to work every day is two things. I have a propane, they call it a little buddy, and it's, I don't know, 12 inches, 18 inches tall, maybe 8 inches deep, and it's fueled by propane. And you can either fuel it by a 1-pound propane tank or a 20-pound propane tank. I got either or. I can go either way, but I use the 1-pound in the vehicle. I put a couple 1-pound tanks in the truck to keep them from freezing as I'm traveling down the road, and I keep the heater in the truck. And if I ever need it, that thing comes out, and that'll heat my vehicle. If I'm stuck for a few hours, that thing's going to be a lifesaver. I've also put out another video. You could check my some of my videos down there, but it's called a trucker's heater. Basically just a paint can, a 1-quart tin paint can with a toilet paper roll inside there. You got to get it inside the 1-pound or the quart paint can. You pick them up at your big box stores, these tin paint cans for a quart. Get a toilet paper roll, stick it in there, and in an emergency, you can fill it up with isopropyl alcohol, or I think I use some camping fuel. You can find this stuff at, again, I go to Menards, it's the big box hardware store up here. Home Depot's got it. But they're just like pints of denatured alcohol, cooking fuel. You'll see it in the aisle. Burns real clean. So if you're in your vehicle and you got that trucker's heater, you just take the lid off of the paint can. Toilet paper's already down in there. You pour your alcohol down in there just above the toilet paper top, and light it on fire, kind of like a sterno heater for food, and put it on a flat surface. This is dangerous, right? This thing is flammable. It's got a quart of alcohol burning in your car, but it'll save your life, and it'll warm your car up in no time. So that's just keeping you warm in your car. Maybe the little buddy will do that, so I do that. Keeping warm at home. Obviously, we have a furnace here. It's a natural gas furnace, but it also requires electric to ignite and to turn on the blower motor. So you got to get kind of creative. If you have a generator, you can get that thing to work. As long as you're not backfeeding the utility and your main breaker is open, it's doable. You should be able to with a little bit of electrical knowledge, figure out how to get power to that thing through a generator and fire up your furnace. As long as the natural gas is flowing, right? If it's a big emergency, a big power outage or something, something massive, I don't know if the natural gas utility is even going to be pumping natural gas. I think it runs on, they got to pump it. so they need electric for their pumps. So I don't know how all that system works, but um, if that's functioning, um, but you don't have power, you need to figure out a way to get power to that furnace so you can fire up your furnace and keep your house warm. Let's say that doesn't work for me. I went and installed a few years ago, 20 years ago, a natural gas fireplace in the basement, but it's ventless. So it's a super high efficiency fireplace, just natural gas. Um, but you don't need to vent it. You just put this thing in the basement and fire it up. And in a house like mine, with so many, with the drafts coming through here, it's not a real sealed up house, and it burns so efficient that it's not a health risk. Um, so that thing's come in handy a few times because I've had my furnace conk out a few times, brand new furnace, and had some problems with it, and we had to use this ventless fireplace to keep warm. So that's an option, something like that. I have one in my garage also, the attached garage. I have a ventless heater. It's I forgot how many BTUs, but that thing's pretty nice. Doesn't require any electricity. You just turn the gas on and click the spark, kind of like your gas grill, and that gets it going. And then all else fails, everything's down, natural gas doesn't work, can't get any propane, freezing to death in my house. I got a wood burning fireplace in my house. The problem with that is it just takes all the air out of the house, right? It's just using the interior air to fuel the fire. So that's a big drawback. But in an emergency, I have plenty of firewood, and the chimney's clean. The thing works. I mean, it gets cranking hot in there. But you know, that's kind of my last case scenario on keeping warm in the house, is using my fireplace because of how inefficient that thing really is. And then my next thing that I have, it's in my shop. This is how I heat my shop, but it would work in a house too. It is a torpedo heater that runs on kerosene. Number one, kerosene burns super clean. I don't smell it when I'm out in the shop when it's burning, and that thing's like a rocket, you know. I've used them in houses before when I was a long time ago when the pipes were freezing and busting and things like that to keep the house warm. But in an emergency, something like that would work. But you need to have enough kerosene on hand. I usually keep about 15 gallons, probably not enough, but I would stock up on kerosene, propane, gasoline, and then maybe get, like I said, get a couple of those ventless heaters. Think about getting some of them or one of them. Ventless fireplace, a ventless heater, and I mean, even if you don't hook it up, if you got it stockpiled in your garage somewhere, at least you could hook it up in an emergency. But those are some of the ways that I keep warm in the wintertime, or for emergencies. Those are the things that I have to keep warm. Many topics here we can talk about. Power. This topic was brought up and was asked my opinion of. Solar power. Not a big fan of it. The problem is you got to store that power, and you need to store it in batteries, and you need to have a lot of batteries depending on what you want to power up with solar power. So is it feasible? Yes. Is it expensive? It's expensive. You can go to Harbor Freight or some cheap knockoff places like that and buy solar kits, panels, and the charge controllers, and get yourself a good battery for that. And you can convert 12 volt into 120 volt, but it just takes a lot of batteries to do that. So I've tried it, and maybe for small things, for charging up radios or batteries around the house, cell phones, things like that, probably not a bad idea. But you got to have that space to store that battery, and batteries are dangerous storing them inside. They need to be vented. Not a big fan of that. Talked about, food storage in emergencies and things like that. I'm kind of going off topic, but I'm going to keep rolling. Food storage. I've been stockpiling food for a long time. Ever since, like I said, the Rodney King issue and all that stuff, I really started looking into preparing And I just never wanted to be that guy who was caught in a trick bag and didn't have what I needed in an emergency. So as of today, I do have a stockpile of food. The problem is my family, I'm not single anymore. So I have a family, I got kids, I got, everybody eats a lot, so you need a lot of food. I wish I could have a year's supply of food for every person in the household. I'm not ready, and I'm not there yet. Um, but I am trying to get there. Some of it's canned, some of it's in jars. Some of it I've used a vacuum sealer for sugars and um, oatmeal and things like that, potatoes, things like that. You can store that stuff, get the vacuum sealer. There's ways to do it. I've got rice and beans, things like that. You can store them. But that's something that I do. I'm not a big fan of looking at a lot of companies out there want to sell you these supply things, but I think you can probably build your own food supply for a lot cheaper. You could buy MREs at like the Bass Pro. I think there's big shops like that that sell that stuff, but you can make your own, right? I mean, they were doing that for hundreds of years, or 200 years or whatever in this country, jarring and canning and all that stuff. I do that too. So food supply, definitely, I do that. I have some, not enough. Communication, we have some communication in the, me and my boys have radio communications for our headsets. I do have that, but it's not a ham radio. We got one ham radio in the house, and we want to get more for communicating. But I'm not set up for that yet. I don't have a ham license, but it is something we're looking at. So communication, yeah, definitely. But this stuff here, they're earmuffs for shooting, but we've installed the Walker, the radios on the side of them, so we can talk with these on. We can communicate, right? They got the boom mic and all that stuff on them. They're pretty nice to have, and you can shoot at the same time, right? And have ear protection with them. Let's see, what else can we talk about? Self-defense, right? I mean, America's a crazy place right now. There's a lot of violence going on. Like I said, back in '91, I'll never forget, I saw the Koreans on the rooftop, was in LA, defending their property and their stores. And then I saw that one guy, I forgot his name now. You can see it, the videos on YouTube. When they pulled that trucker, he was just driving down the road, doing a job, and he got caught at an intersection during the LA riots, and they pulled him out of that truck and they beat the daylights out of him. And I thought to myself, boy, it's just getting crazy. Here's an innocent guy, and they went after him. So I thought to myself, that's not going to be me. So that's kind of where I go in some of this stuff. It's not going to be me, and it's not going to be my family. I will defend myself. With that being said, I am a Christian. I am a believer. I put God first in my life, but when it comes down to it, somebody wants to harm me or my family, I would be prepared to defend myself. I don't want to do that, but I am prepared to defend myself. You could also be defending yourself. Some of these guys live up in, Alaska or Canada. They got bears up there. They need weapons to defend themselves. So, but I have enough to be able to do that. So home defense is important. When you're driving, it's important to be able to defend yourself. The highways in the Chicagoland area, I think I just heard a report that said last year there was like 150 some shootings on the highway and the expressways going in and around the city. And it's just crazy out there, right? So I never wanted to be that guy who's unprepared or out there traveling, and here comes some guy who wants to harm you. It's not going to happen. I'll do everything I can to defend myself and my family. So those are some of the things that I'm into, and I just want to be prepared. That's all I want to do, is be prepared in every way that I can, whether it be with being able to provide power for my home, heat for my home, saving my food, and making sure my basement doesn't flood, safely traveling throughout my community, being able to defend myself and my property and the things that I have. um, things like that. It's just, those are some of my thoughts on that. Um, just wanted to share this video and share some of my thoughts on that. So I hope you got something out of it. I know if you got questions, I'm more more than happy to answer questions. I think the other topic I want to touch on, now that I just remembered it, is the person asked a question about protecting your electronics from an EMP, electromagnetic pulse. And this can happen naturally through the sun. The solar flares can, I think there was a story back in the late 1800s or something where a solar flare just wiped out the whole communication for the telegraphs and stuff. So it is a real natural occurrence, and it wipes out, it could wipe out cell phones, power grids, vehicles. It just fries the electronics, and that's naturally. And they also have things that they've created to do that, right? So how do you protect yourself on that? I'm not so sure. There is devices out there. I haven't done a lot of research on it. It is something I'm concerned about. My thoughts on this is, if I had enough space, if I had a farm or something like that, I would be buying vehicles that didn't have any electronic ignitions or computer parts in them, old 1970s, 68s, even further back, just vehicles like that, where any of the electronic parts, that the points and condenser, maybe I can protect with a Faraday cage of some sort, something small. But nowadays, with the vehicles that we all drive, everything's computer, everything's electronic. So would an EMP just wipe out all of that stuff? They say it's possible. So what are we going to do? And we're all going to be in the same boat. People say, well, they like to bug out and things like that. I'm like, I'm not prepared to bug out. I have too much stuff. So I'm prepared to kind of like just stay home, bug in, stay around with the things that I have. I've already built this up, what I have. And I'm thinking, if like an EMP or something just major hits us, this is where I want to be. Would I want a second place that I could go off to on vacation and just kind of get away from people, and somewhere in the not so populated areas? Yeah, I would love to have that. But right now I don't have that. I'm going to just planning on sticking close to home and protecting what I have, whether it be from a natural disaster or man coming after some of these things. So those are some of my thoughts. I'd love to hear some of your questions and get your thoughts on what I'm talking about, and we can have a discussion on that. But appreciate your time in this, and hopefully this made some sense on what I do and why I do it. So we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.